What's up everyone, my name is Marie, welcome to my channel, and welcome to another speed build. And welcome to another episode of Building Stars Hollow, where I try to recreate iconic Gilmore Girls builds in The Sims 4. And so I'm back with another one today, and I kind of already spoiled it. You probably knew that this was coming up, but I am doing the Dragonfly Inn today. And it's probably not going to be a surprise, but I again had so much fun with this build. There's something about recreating these Gilmore Girls builds that is just so fun for me. It's also because I genuinely just love the show so much, and I'm currently also on my annual rewatch. Clearly, I am now on the start of season 5, actually. I just started season 5, so I'm kind of flying through it. I knew I would. Once I get into it, I just like continuously watch it in the background when I'm doing other things or just like eating and watching, you know, I'll be just continuously watching. So I actually just started season 5, which is the first season with the finished Dragonfly Inn as well. So I definitely, for inspiration for this build and for reference pictures and stuff, I definitely had to skip through like some scenes and just like some episodes from season 5, even though I was still on episode 4 at the time, or season 4 at the time. So I definitely had to skip ahead a little bit and watch some things for some reference because, you know, I haven't seen a whole lot of the Dragonfly Inn for my current rewatch of the show. So definitely had to go and kind of look at images and scenes and stuff to get a look and feel of the place. Also on Google, I found a floor plan sketch of the Dragonfly Inn. I do think that that's kind of like a fantasy type thing. That's not necessarily what it actually looks like, but that is what I used for this build because the Dragonfly Inn has this iconic facade, you know, just like the front of the build with a little dormers, which I know, by the way, that's one of the things that I'm just gonna point out immediately is that I know the dormers at the front of the build aren't actual dormers, if that makes sense, for the real build, but I just really like that little bit of you know, it adds a little bit to the front of the build. It adds a little bit to the shape of the house, I guess. I really liked it that those dormers kind of just actually are little bump outs for this build. So that's why I did that. But yeah, it's not completely, obviously it's not completely accurate. And also, like I said, that floor plan that I found is probably just like a fantasy type thing. Because I don't think that the Dragonfly Inn in itself, like apart from the facade, obviously, I think the rest of it is just sets, right? Where they film the scenes, like the rooms and the living room, the dining room, Suki's kitchen and stuff like that. I believe those are all just, I'm actually fairly sure that those are sets because I found some pictures of the kitchen and also the living room that are clearly sets because you can see that it's a set. So, you know, this whole layout kind of thing wasn't necessarily realistic. And also I did not have any reference whatsoever for the second floor of the build. So that's just whatever I could come up with. Trying to fit in as many rooms as possible. I also know that Lorelai at some point mentions that the Dragonfly Inn has 10 bedrooms. I tried, but I couldn't really get that to work for this build. It was just a little bit too small for that and it didn't really work out the way I wanted to. So I don't have 10 bedrooms. Instead, we have, I think, 6 bedrooms here on the second floor. And then there's that separate little cabin, or it's actually not a cabin. I think it's just like a really nice separate suite with like its own entrance and stuff like that, apart, like not attached to the actual building. That's another bedroom that they have. And Lorelai, I think she calls it their honeymoon suite. So that's also what I tried to create. There's no reference from what I could find, or maybe it's in an episode that I just haven't come across for my watch through at the moment. So it's not at the top of my head right now, but I don't know what that suite actually looks like, either on the inside or from the exterior. So I just kind of tried to create something of my own. That floor plan picture that I found, that little sketch of the place, which actually, by the way, just covered obviously the ground floor. So that little picture did have this small extra non-attached bedroom, I guess like separate little bedroom as well in it. So that's what I used for the shape of it. However, I don't know. I don't know if it looks like this. I don't know, but I thought it was cute. And that's another thing with these builds. I say this every time I do one of these Gilmore Girls builds, but I just feel like I have to do the little disclaimer because I know it's not going to be perfect. I also probably just miss things sometimes, you know, little details that I just kind of forgot that slipped my mind or what have you. But obviously I'm trying to recreate these actual builds from the show, but also I'm trying to make them look cute in The Sims. So that means that sometimes I just have to take some creative freedom with things, change things up a little bit, use other items like replacement stuff, you know, that sort of thing. Also, size proportions in The Sims are just super different. Even though I will say for the Dragonfly this time, I didn't really have that issue. Last time when I was building Luke's, that was way more of an issue where the size proportions are just so off. For this build, I did not run into that problem at all. I feel like the downstairs floor plan was pretty easy to recreate, or at least kind of make sense. I feel like it did end up being a little bit more spacious than the sets usually look. I feel like the sets, especially the dining room, the living room in this place, are a little bit more cramped, a little bit more squished. You know, this is actually pretty spacious, but I feel like it still really makes a lot of sense. And because this build has so many bedrooms, one thing that I found was funny that I actually never really thought about before starting to recreate this in The Sims is the only thing you really ever see for the exterior of this build is that iconic facade with the porch and the dormers and the windows and the shutters, you know, that kind of thing. And then sometimes you catch glimpses of the barn that is next to it. That's gray when they first buy the place, but then it's painted red at some point. So I created this like painted red barn with 2 horse stables because they do have 2 horses. I'm forgetting their names at the moment. I think it's Cletus and Desdemona. Is that what their names are? Oh my God, I can't believe I just now, that's in my brain somewhere. I think that's what they're called. But yeah, they have 2 horses. But what I was gonna say was, sorry, I'm always all over the place with these voiceovers because I'm just way too excited to talk about these builds. I just have so much fun with them. One thing you always see is that iconic facade with the dormers and the porch and whatnot, but you don't actually really see what the rest of the exterior with the shape of the building actually looks like. And it's huge because supposedly it has 10 bedrooms. It has that gigantic kitchen. It has a dining room, a living room, a check-in area, a little office, all those things. And you obviously, you need a really big building to fit all that into it. So what I kind of tried to do here, as you can probably tell, is I was trying to basically hide the rest of the build sort of behind that iconic facade. So if you were to stand in front of it and just look at the building from the front of it, you would just see that facade and the rest of the gigantic building is just kind of hiding behind it, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I was trying to do here. I think it turned out really fun. And the shape of it was really fun. The roofing, obviously, I had to come up with on my own, apart from just the facade and the stuff that we see on a regular basis in the show. But other than that, yeah, definitely some creative freedom here. But however, I do really like how this one came out. Also, by the way, I totally didn't acknowledge the length of this video, but they just keep getting longer and longer. I don't know what it is. I mean, the builds keep getting bigger and bigger for these Building Stars Hollow for this series, basically. I started with just the regular, the classic Lorelai and Rory's house. And then from there, I just kind of took off and the builds just became bigger and bigger. And this is, I feel like, well, I don't think it's the biggest one yet, actually. I think Luke's was way bigger than this. But for some reason, this one just took me a little bit longer to do. Also because of all the details. The bedrooms were a lot of work, and also just I don't know, I just really wanted to try and get some details right. Obviously, we don't have perfect matching wallpapers and stuff like that, but I was really trying to get a good look and feel of the color scheme of this build, and I think I kind of did an okay job with that, so that was really fun. I was also having way too much fun with these shutters. The Dragonfly Inn has those really beautiful dark green shutters that I tried to also place here. And I found the perfect ones from Horse Ranch actually in that dark green color. I thought they were so pretty. And then I obviously had to tool them into place because otherwise they're super flat against the wall. And I like to use Tool Mod for that to kind of have it look like they come off the wall a little bit. I'm not sure, that sentence makes no sense, but you probably understand what I mean. So yeah, that's what I was trying to do here, and it took me a very long time to do that, but it was really fun, and I just really like how this one came out. Suki has her really big kitchen. I'm really excited about how the kitchen came out for some reason. I was kind of not excited to do the kitchen. I was a little bit intimidated by doing the kitchen, but once I got started on it, I had so much fun with it. I was doing most of this build on stream, by the way, not everything. The kitchen, I did that by myself earlier today, but for the most part, I did this entire build over on stream like I usually do. So shameless plug, if you're interested in watching me build live on stream, you can follow me over on Twitch, where we will be doing more of these Stars Hollow builds, but also we're not almost running out of builds to do, because there's a ton of builds in Stars Hollow and I could keep this going for a very long time. But now that we're done with the Dragonfly in, that's basically everything I knew I wanted to do. Now, I think for the next one, don't hold me to this, but for the next one, I think I'm gonna do a park with a gazebo. So, I mean, clearly we have to do the classic gazebo somewhere. So I have one free lot left basically here in this area of Brindleton Bay where I am using or creating these Stars Hollow builds. The lot across from Luke's is actually still free. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a park there with a gazebo. I might end up also putting the church there, which I know is not entirely accurate, but I mean, this space, like how this is all spaced out in this neighborhood with the lots and stuff just makes no sense. Just like, it doesn't look like Stars Hollow at all. So maybe that doesn't really matter, and I could still kind of get away with doing the gazebo and then the church on one lot. A lot of you also suggested Emily's and Richard's house mansion. They basically live in a mansion, which I think would be really fun. I wouldn't do that here in this area because they also live in Hartford. They don't actually live in Stars Hollow. So I think it'd be fun to do that in a different area somewhere. I think in Brindleton Bay still, but just like in a different area. I also need a way bigger lot for that. So, you know, that might make sense. That mansion I'm really intimidated by though, because I feel like we don't have a lot of, again, we just don't have a lot of pictures of the exterior when it comes to the shape of the house. We have some scenes and like some stills of the like the facade of that house, as we do for most of these builds here. For the rest of it, clearly we have the sets of the dining room. There is the living room space where they always have their drinks, you know, like that sort of thing. So I could definitely do something with that. But when it comes to the layout, I've been lucky enough for these past builds that I've done, I've been lucky enough to actually find some floor plans done on Pinterest and on Google, and that was just very helpful. I don't know if they're actually like super accurate, but it doesn't really matter because it's something for me to go off of and I don't have to come up with it all by myself. So I feel like for Emily's and Richard's mansion, it's going to be just like my brainchild. You know, I'm going to have to come up with the layout for it, and I think that's a little bit scary, but I also think that could be potentially a lot of fun because that means a lot of creative freedom and I can just kind of, you know, go off of what I know but then just fill in the rest. And I think that could be potentially kind of fun as well. Here you can see we're kind of getting started on the landscaping and I had so much fun with it. You know how the Dragonfly Inn has that iconic little, almost like a little roundabout around a fountain. It's not really a roundabout. It's more of like just like a little pathway in a circle, basically around a small fountain. And I was trying to recreate that. I placed a fountain and I did create like an overgrown sort of fountain. So I placed a lot of like bushes and plants and flowers kind of around it and a little bit here. And then here I was just basically trying to make it look very lush. I wanted to place a lot of trees and just make it look very autumnal. We're clearly building this in the fall as we're just doing for all these builds because basically this is just my autumnal build series this year. It's just Stars Hollow. So obviously the colors of the trees are very beautiful and I don't know, I just think it's so cute. I don't think I've ever filled up a lot this well, if that makes sense. As in, I'm basically just used every single inch of this lot. I couldn't move any of the buildings any further backwards or off to the side because I was just using every single inch of space that I had here. And I think that was actually so fun to do. I don't think I've ever done that before. So yeah, that was definitely something different. I almost felt like I needed a bigger lot for this, and I actually could have used a bigger lot for this because I know that they also have a small garden patch in the back somewhere. I didn't end up having the space to create the garden patch for Oh my God, Suki's husband. What is his name? Jackson. Oh wow, I completely just spaced out on Jackson's name. I know Jackson has a garden somewhere in the back because at some point right before the I think either the grand opening or the trial run of the inn, at one point they spend the night at the zucchini patch because they're scared that the zucchinis will get cold and that they won't be perfect for, you know, the trial run of the inn, and it's a whole thing. So Suki and Jackson and Lorelai and Michelle actually accidentally spent the night at the zucchini patch. So I kind of wanted to try and see if I had space for a garden area, but I didn't actually end up having space for it. I mean, I could have created a garden patch in the area where I now have space for the horses. I have that little fenced in area for the horses to kind of walk around. I could have done a garden there, but I just didn't really, I don't know, I just really wanted to use this space for the horses. I thought it'd be nice to have like a fenced in little area attached to the barn where the horses can just kind of go during the day. You know, I just felt like that would be cute. Even though it's way too small for horses, I know they need a lot more space, but this is The Sims and it's okay. And also this was all the space that I had to work with. We're just going to pretend that they have like some sort of area elsewhere where they can just kind of bring the horses in, where there's a lot more space for them to kind of roam free. That's kind of, you know, what I was imagining as I was building this. But I actually really like how this barn came out. I thought it was so cute. I don't know if it looks like this. However, I was watching an episode, I think earlier today, where there was a better shot of the barn, and shape-wise, I kind of accidentally got it right. I don't know if the stables are in this sort of situation where, you know, the horses can just kind of look out the front of the barn, if that makes sense. I don't think that's what they have, but I do feel like the shape of the barn is pretty close to what they actually have in the show. So that was completely accidental. That was just the whole shape of the barn was just kind of whatever I felt like doing with that, because I didn't really have reference for that. So that was an accident, but you know, it turned out really nice. So that's good. And then here, this little pathway off to the side over to that separate little honeymoon suite that they have is completely just like my fantasy. It does not look like this, I don't think. I think they also are supposed to have parking somewhere out front, which I clearly did not have the space for either, so there's no parking for my version of the Dragonfly Inn. I just did a whole lot of pretty landscaping. I wanted to make it, like I said, very lush, kind of overgrown. I mean, they do basically renovate the whole thing, including the landscaping, and just they basically renovate the entire thing. Everything there is to renovate, they renovate. So I feel like it's still, it would look kind of manicured, the landscaping, but at the same time, I feel like Lorelai really likes that more natural, overgrown, lush kind of look and feel. So she wouldn't really have it too manicured, I don't think. So that's why I kept it pretty lush. We have all those beautiful rose bushes. Definitely still all those like wisteria and stuff growing up the porch. That's definitely something that you see a lot in Gilmore Girls, I feel, is the porches with the wisteria. When you start to pay attention to all the different types of buildings and like the sets in this show, you can definitely see how similar a lot of things are. What I have seen, like what's something that like really catches my eye at this point, is that they use a lot of yellow. For exteriors, I'm using the exact same exterior color and wallpaper for Kim's Antiques as well as I'm using right now for the Dragonfly Inn. So they use a lot of that. And then also on the interior for a lot of rooms, they have a lot of that like patterned flowery yellow toned wallpaper in a lot of different places. So they have that for this build as well. And for the Dragonfly Inn, I think what really makes it stand out is that it has just a whole bunch of different sorts of patterns everywhere. It's very cluttered there. It's looking neat still because it is like, it's a hotel. So it looks kind of neat, but it's definitely, there's a style going on here. Like it's very vintage. It's very Kim's Antiques inspired almost, but make it livable instead of a store, you know, if that makes sense. So that's basically what I went for. I just use a lot of mismatched furniture items, mismatched wood tones, a lot of those orangey wood tones as well. I think the staircase is pretty accurate in that color that it is, and also with like the banister and stuff. I feel like that's pretty accurate to what they have in the show. I know their staircase is like a double staircase. I think it goes up and then it goes around or something. I'm not sure. I'm doing a really bad job explaining this, but I mean, I didn't have that much space and I was going to have to create like a whole, like another story to the build, and it was just going to be too much. So I just did a straight staircase. I feel like that really captures the essence of what it looks like when you look at it from the hallway perspective, you know? So that's kind of what I tried to do. And then here for the layout, we clearly have that hallway space, the entrance with the staircase, and then off to the left is where we have the check-in area, which I'm fairly certain is pretty accurate. So we have that. We have Lorelai's little check-in desk here. There's also a small waiting room. I think that in the show, this room is a little bit more spacious. There's a little bit more space in front of the desk for like a little lounge area or seating area. But for my version of it, it turned out a little bit smaller. It's also because I really wanted to do a small private office behind this check-in area, which I think they have that too, but I'm not actually sure if they do. I did see it in that layout that I was using for reference, but then again, I'm not sure how accurate that layout actually is because it's sets and not a real life, like a real life full-on building. So it's basically just whatever we could come up with. And I think it turned out really fun, even in that regard. Here you can see I was definitely using some mismatched stuff. This wallpaper that I'm using in here is one that I need to use more often. It's a base game wallpaper that is so pretty and just so perfect for these types of builds. I'm really, really having so much fun with this like vintage looking, mismatched, over the top, grandma core kind of vibe for all these Stars Hollow builds, and I'm obsessed with it and I want to do more of it. I just think it's so fun, especially for autumn builds. I don't know what it is with that, but I just feel like that's very fitting. Here you can see I was using a computer or placing a computer, kind of all placing it so that your Sims can't actually use it. And because I saw a picture, like I had a reference picture of Lorelai's check-in desk where she has that computer like on an angle like that. So I really wanted to try to recreate that because I had the picture right in front of me. So why not try to recreate it to the best of my abilities, you know? So that's what I did here. I feel like those little shelves from the bistro kit, like those bar backs, are so perfect. I use them in the hallway as well. I kind of overuse them in this build, but they're so perfect. The style of them is so great, and the little shelves with clutter is just really, really good. Here, as you can see behind the check-in desk, we have Lorelai's private office, which we don't really have reference for, I don't think. Maybe again later on in some episodes that I just don't have just fresh in my memory right now, but from what I know, I don't have any reference for this. So I just placed a little desk, and then I decided to give Lorelai her own little private coffee bar here so that she doesn't always have to go into the kitchen to get her coffee. Also, it's Lorelai's office, I feel, but also just a general little staff area. Michelle also uses this area clearly. Suki maybe not as much, but at the same time, maybe she hangs out here sometimes. And I thought it'd be cute to have some freshly like baked goodies in this little coffee bar because, you know, Suki will probably every morning she'll bring over some freshly baked treats for the staff area. So I just feel like that Suki would definitely 100% do that. For the rest, we just have some filing cabinets. I placed a small chair that I later swapped out for a different chair because I ended up using these armchairs in the living room space because they were so perfect. They actually have like very florally looking chairs in the living room space for the Dragonfly Inn, so these were perfect for that, so I swapped it out because I didn't really want to repeat the chair too many times. Yeah, so then after Lorelai's office, we're actually getting started here on the living room space. For the window situation, it actually accidentally turned out perfectly because later on I saw in a reference photo that they actually have that fireplace and then two windows on either side. And they also have bookcases behind those, or basically behind the couch and also behind the chairs against the walls. I didn't know that either, but I did end up doing that as well. So a lot of this, I guess, feels very intuitive to me, like how these sets are laid out and like the furniture that's used, because I end up doing a lot of things just accidentally right, which I mean, not perfectly, like, you know, not to brag, like that's not how I mean it, but like just a lot of these things feel very intuitive, basically, because I do accidentally end up placing things in areas where they actually go without me fully realizing it, or maybe it's like somewhere in the back of my brain because I've seen it before and I'm just like not realizing it, you know, that's definitely also a possibility, of course. The fireplace that they have is definitely not green, I don't think, but I just thought this one was very nice. I think that is a base game fireplace or it's the one from Vampires. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that's a base game one. I don't think I've ever used that fireplace in the very dark green, like deep green color that I'm using right now, but I think it's really pretty. It feels very autumnal to me, so I thought that was a nice color to use and, to kind of break up the color palette here in the living room as well. And then they also have a really nice striped pink couch in the living room, which we don't have that. We do have pink couches. So I went for this pink couch that looks very cozy from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack because it has all those little throw pillows in it. And it's just like very cozy and fluffy and just looks very soft. One thing they also do not have in the show is this bar, but I definitely needed something to fill up the space. Later on, I realized that I had planned to put a piano somewhere, but I completely forgot, like it entirely just like slipped my mind. So I didn't actually end up placing a piano in this build, which I think is such a shame. It would have been so good either here in the living room space or maybe in the dining room, it could have been really good, but I just completely forgot I wanted to do that. So yeah, it slipped my mind. So I didn't end up placing a piano, but if you wanted to use this build and you really want a piano in here, I feel like you could definitely swap out either one of the bookcases or make some space in the dining room or place it where I actually ended up placing the bar. But I thought the bar was really nice to add in this like shared space for a hotel. I don't know. I feel like that just is a really nice thing to add and just like a fun activity maybe as well, because clearly this is all common area. And also for just the general functionality of this build, for the longest time, I wasn't sure how you would actually use this type of build in your game. I did make it so that you can use it as a functional restaurant actually. So if you wanted to, you could do that. For the rest, I'm not exactly sure how you would go about using this type of build because we unfortunately don't have hotels yet. I say yet because I'm definitely manifesting hotels still coming to The Sims 4. I really, really hope so. And that would literally be so perfect. You could clearly also set it as a vacation rental, but then it's just a rental for your household that you're playing, and it's going to be so incredibly expensive. You could obviously cheat for money and then it won't be a problem, but I feel like maybe it's not as realistic or maybe it's not as fun either if you don't have other Sims renting rooms and just kind of hanging out here as well. You can clearly also set it as a generic lot type and then you can just basically use it for whatever you want to. Maybe you can pretend that your Sims are staying here by kind of claiming a bedroom for them and locking the doors. Something like that, you could definitely do that. Or you could set it, someone actually suggested that it would be maybe also fun to use as a residential rental so that you can actually have your Sims live here. And I think that would be really fun. I mean, it's not necessarily what it's supposed to be for, but when you think of like functionalities for this in the game itself, I feel like that would actually be really fun. You could just basically just close off the bedrooms or what's that word? Assign the bedrooms, like create little units per bedroom and bathroom because each bedroom does have their own bathroom, which is nice. So you can just basically live in a bedroom with a bathroom and have neighbors in all the other rooms. And then the kitchen and just like all these communal spaces are just shared spaces that everyone uses together. And I just think that that would be kind of fun to do. So that's definitely something you could do as well. And then you can live in the Dragonfly Inn. I thought that was a very creative way to go about it. So that's definitely something you could do here. And then for the dining room, you can see it come together here. I'm obsessed with this wallpaper that I used. The wainscoting for the wallpaper in the actual build is not green, but I felt like that was a really nice little touch of color. They do have those green chairs in the show, which we don't actually have any green chairs that even remotely look like the ones that they have in the actual Dragonfly Inn. So I decided to go for these base game chairs. I was going back and forth a lot for a long time when it comes to picking dining chairs. That took me a hot second. But me and Chad on stream actually landed on these base game chairs because the vibe was just good and they sort of have green. So they're still green, just like not perfect when it comes to like when you compare them to the ones in the show. But I still feel like these are good. Also, I think that they don't have a red wallpaper, or maybe they do. I couldn't really see the color of the wallpaper in the dining room space. In some pictures that I was looking at, it definitely looked red. It's a patterned wallpaper for sure. I think it's a floral patterned wallpaper. In some pictures I was looking at, it looked red. So that's what I went with. This one came to mind immediately and I was just kind of set on using that. But when I looked at it, like when I looked at different pictures later on, I don't think it's actually red, but I don't really care. Like this wallpaper is perfect and it's a really good vibe. And I feel like it definitely works for the Dragonfly Inn as well. So that's why I chose it. And the green wainscoting is not accurate, but I just thought that that was really fun. Also, I don't think the red floral wallpaper comes in a different swatch with like a different wainscoting, but I could be wrong. I'm not exactly sure. Then here in the back, I created these beautiful open doors. I basically just placed a really wide archway and then I tooled 2 little doors into place that open up into the dining room. And I created a small library back here, which I think at some point someone in the show mentions that there is a library in this, like in the Dragonfly Inn somewhere, but I'm not exactly sure if that's even true. If I'm just making up things now, like that's definitely a possibility. I don't know. I think at some point Suki mentions that there is a pantry back here. I think she goes through the dining room into a pantry. I just put a pantry in the kitchen. I thought that would make more sense. And I think Luke at some point mentions that there is a bathroom back through the dining room, which is not the case for my version of the Dragonfly Inn. I did create a downstairs little bathroom, but that's off of the hallway. We'll see that later. I think I did that after I decorated the kitchen. So yeah, in that regard, it's not entirely accurate, but I did have this space in the back here that was just too pretty to turn into bathrooms. So I decided to turn it into a small library. So it basically just has a bunch of bookcases. It has a couple of desks with some computers on them. Maybe that's nice for the guests to use. I'm not exactly sure how to go about that or how that would make sense, but I feel like a library just fits the vibe of this place. So I placed a couple of desks, a bunch of bookcases, and another little fireplace, and just a small lounge area so that there's different little lounge areas for guests to kind of pick and choose where they want to hang out. I thought that would be realistic. Then here, back through the hallway, we have a small archway leading into basically another hallway where we have a storage closet, and then off to the left is the bathroom. And then off to the back is where we have Suki's kitchen, and I am so happy with how this one came together. I don't know why, but I just had a lot of fun with it. It definitely took me a second to do this one, and it was a lot of back and forth between wallpapers and stuff. The floor is 10 out of 10 chef's kiss, perfect, spot on for what they have in the show, but the wallpaper is not. I think at some point, or in some areas, they have tiles. It's a lot of green and yellow again. But I couldn't really find any type of tile that I really liked, so I decided to just go for this base game mint green wallpaper with the brown wainscoting at the bottom. I think it's not very similar to what they have, but I think it looks good. It's definitely a combination of flooring and wallpaper that I have never used before. I barely ever use this wall or this flooring as is. It's a base game tile and I never use it. I think it's a base game tile now. I'm not sure, but I think it is. It's exactly like the one they have in the show, so that was perfect. I had to use it, and I just really liked this wallpaper because I feel like it doesn't really match with the floor, and that's why I liked it so much and why I felt like it was perfect for the chaotic Dragonfly Inn. You know, it's not chaotic in a way where it's messy and like bad chaotic. It's a cozy chaotic, I want to say, with just a bunch of different patterns and colors and stuff that's going on, and I felt like that this kitchen definitely felt like it would fit. So that's why I went for this combination. In one of the pictures of the kitchen, I can see that Suki actually has a small desk where I think she just sits down and maybe keeps track of what she needs to order. Maybe she writes down recipes. I'm not exactly sure, but she does have a desk that looks incredibly out of place in a kitchen. So I placed that as well. And then I just put some lockers. I thought maybe the lockers would make sense for the people that work in the kitchen and the waiters and stuff to put their stuff. So we have a couple of lockers. We just have a random little shelving unit with some china and stuff. And then obviously just a bunch of counters. I also used one of the dine out chef stations so that you can use this as an actual restaurant. I did play test it as a restaurant, so that should all be fine. And then we have this, I feel like one of the features of this iconic kitchen of the Dragonfly is that island moment that they have in the middle somewhere. That's just always very cluttered. So that's what I tried to recreate here. I was trying to use a lot of clutter. I was trying to stay away from using too much debug and live edit clutter when it comes to food and kitchen clutter and pans and whatnot, because I'm not exactly sure what goes stinky or what Sims will kind of go around and then clean up, you know, so you all place it down for nothing. So I really tried to go for actual decorative items that your Sims will just kind of leave alone. So that's what I cluttered up the kitchen with for the most part. I did end up putting a couple of debug things, I think, but nothing too crazy, or like no pans or dishes or anything. Like this little grocery bag, I thought that was really cute, so I put some groceries on the counter as well. And then just little wall decorations, and obviously we have to have a fire extinguisher. A fire extinguisher always needs to be like near Suki. I feel like wherever she goes, I think she can set things on fire even when she's not around. Anything kitchen related, she can set fire anywhere, I feel. So I definitely put a couple of fire extinguishers in the kitchens because, you know, it's Suki and that just makes sense for her. But yeah, and then I was super happy that I actually thought of stuff from Home Chef Hustle. I was almost done with this kitchen when I realized Home Chef Hustle. It has like the mixer, it has the waffle maker, it has the recipe book. Like I have to use that stuff. So I thankfully thought of it right on time, and I ended up placing some of those appliances in the kitchen as well. Off of the kitchen here, we have a small side porch where I just ended up placing a small bench, a plant, and then also a couple of bins, like outdoor trash cans. Clearly we need that off of the kitchen as well. And then that's it for the kitchen, actually, which I just had a lot of fun with that. And then here we have a small downstairs half bathroom for the guests. I know it's only one bathroom, so it's not ideal. I feel like I would want to have a staff bathroom somewhere as well, but we don't really have that. I just had space for one small bathroom here downstairs, so that's what I ended up doing. It's actually not small, but I did turn it into a half one because I feel like a full bathroom wouldn't really make any sense to have that here when all the guests clearly have their own bathrooms to use as well for when they want to take a shower or whatever. So yeah, I just thought one half bathroom downstairs was nice. Like I said, I would have liked a staff bathroom, but you know, it's fine. We don't have that. Also, it's The Sims, so it doesn't really matter. And then after that little bathroom downstairs, we're moving on to the second floor, where the floor plan, like I said, is essentially just whatever I could come up with for the shape of this build. So that's what we did. One thing I knew I really wanted was a nice spacious landing area, because I wanted there to be just like a second lounge kind of thing. I thought that would make sense for, like I said earlier, for guests, so that they could kind of pick and choose wherever they want to hang out. So they don't always have to be downstairs. They can also hang out here upstairs. So I basically just created a second little lounge here with these love seats from the Lovestruck pack. I love those love seats. I actually really like how this area ended up. I really like those bookcases. Those bookcases are from Realm of Magic. The color was so perfect. It matched the wood on the coffee table and also the couches perfectly. I was so happy with how that looked. And then this dark red, kind of maroon sort of color for the rug I thought was so pretty as well, so I had to use that in here. And then I placed a small foosball table as well. I thought that was nice, like a small little extra activity, and then just a couple more bookcases. Basically, my thought process for this build was, if I'm not exactly sure what to place against the wall, go for another bookcase. We have so many bookcases in this build, but I just feel like it makes a lot of sense to have all those like cluttered shelves everywhere. So that's what I went with. And then off of this landing here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. One of them being a family room. So that's essentially 2 bedrooms, but they're attached to each other. So one of the rooms is a family room. I wanted these rooms to be very different from each other because I feel like the bedrooms in the Dragonfly Inn would all be very unique. So that's definitely something I try to do as well. Oh, and here upstairs, by the way, we also have a laundry space. I thought that would make sense. I have this little area left over here. And now that I'm thinking about it, I could have turned that into like a small staff bathroom maybe, but I feel like a laundry space is more realistic because clearly they need to do laundry every single day, like a lot of loads of laundry all the time for all these bedrooms, all the sheets and the towels and the robes and whatnot. So for these bedrooms, I wanted them all to feel very unique. I actually did not end up recording all of the bathrooms because, as you can probably tell, this video is incredibly long. It took me a hot second to build this, and when it comes to the bedrooms, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna record a couple of them, and then I'll just do the rest by myself. And then clearly in a little bit here after we're done with the speed build, I'm going to give you a real-time, I was gonna say real-life tour of the place. That would be cool. No, we're gonna do a real-time tour of the place, and I'm gonna show you all the bedrooms, of course. But this is one of them. This is one of the more fancy ones where they actually have a small entrance into their bedroom where they have a tiny hallway with an archway leading into this bedroom, and then they also have a door into their bathroom off of that small hallway. So I feel like this is one of the more fancier rooms, I want to say. They have a small desk in here as well. I was going to do a vanity, but the mirror was blocking the window, and I thought that was a little bit sad, so I decided not to do it. We just have a small desk in here, but this is definitely a very nice room. I really like the warm tones, all the dark woods, and just like the mismatched colors that kind of look good together, the patterned wallpaper, you know, that sort of thing. That's so typical for the Dragonfly. I basically tried to continue that in the bedrooms, of course. And then here they have that small little hallway where I just placed some luggage and a small end table with some magazines and stuff. And then clearly I had to do the robes because in the episode where there is a test run of the Dragonfly and where all the townies basically spend the night at the Dragonfly, there's that one scene where I think Babette and Miss Patty are super excited about the soft robes that come with the room, essentially. And I think they're like a light yellow-ish type of color. So I try to remember to put yellow robes in each room. I'm not exactly sure if I remember to do that for all of them, but for most of them, they're there, I think. So that was, I thought, a really fun little detail that I tried to add. And then here, the second bedroom that we're furnishing is actually a family room. So I'm starting with the, I guess, parents' area of the room with a double bed. This is where we have all the storage. I ended up placing a small couch here, but I did actually end up deleting or moving that love seat to the other room so that I had space for a toddler bed or an infant bed, a crib, I guess. No, not a crib. Is it a crib? I'm not sure. One of the infant beds. Anyway, you'll see that in a second here. I thought that was perfect because I actually also put a changing table in their bathroom. So I thought it was nice to have like a family room here that basically caters to all ages. Maybe not newborns or toddlers so much, but definitely just adults, kids, teens, infants. So maybe actually toddlers too. I'm not exactly sure if toddlers can sleep in that bed that I ended up placing. Maybe they can. If they can, then that would be perfect. But yeah, I definitely wanted this to be the family room. So over here, the rooms are connected through this archway, as you can probably see. And then this area here is an area with two single beds. So this is where kids could sleep, or teenagers, a kid and a teenager, I don't know, anyone, basically. So that's what we have here. And I actually ended up having the space here for a small living room as well. So I ended up moving the love seat here, and then I placed a small TV. One thing I tried to do for these bedrooms is I wanted them all to have a small TV. I thought that would make sense, so that's what I did. We also have some board games here in this specific room. As you can see, I was trying to go for like just brighter pops of color here and there in this version of the room, or this area of the room, because I wanted this to look a little bit more youthful. If you had kids that wanted to, you know, stay in this room, then that would be fun. We don't really have any toys or anything, but I feel like toys would be kind of in those, we have a lot of shelves and like little end tables and stuff, so I feel like that's where the toys would be. But clearly, if you wanted to make it functional and have functional toys, then you can just go ahead and place a couple. I feel like there's definitely space for it, so you could definitely do that if you wanted to. Here you can see I placed that little TV area, and this rug from the nursery kit I thought was so cute, the round one. I sized it up a little bit, and I feel like it looks so perfect. And then here I ended up placing that crib. And then that's basically going to be it for the speed build. So let's jump into the game and I'll show you the build in real time. So here we have the Dragonfly in the game. I just feel like the curb appeal is really nice for this one. I think it looks very cozy and inviting. Obviously, I had to place a few autumnal decorations here. We have Patchy and just some pumpkins and stuff. I thought that was really nice, and it's not too over the top. So if you wanted to delete those, you could very easily do that without there being like a gap to fill up. I also actually placed some garden patches or garden boxes, I guess, over here. So you could still do some gardening here. It's not the zucchini patch, you know, it's not Jackson's zucchini patch, but I still feel like it's nice to have. Over here we have the barn. I parked Luke's truck here because I thought that was iconic. And then we just have this little truck here that I thought was cute. So I placed that here. And then we have the barn with a space for the horses. I don't actually have horses here at the moment, but they have some stables here and then just a small barn here. There is an outdoor area here for the horses. And I thought it would be so cute to have the horses hanging out here. And then from the dining room, you have a view out to the horse area. I don't know. I just thought that that was a cute little detail. Obviously, we have the overgrown fountain here, and then we have this little pathway leading you to the back where we have the honeymoon suite, if you will. I'm just going to quickly show you that one. It looks like this. I think it's very cute. We have this nice furniture set from Discover University, and I just placed a bunch of little plants and decorations. They have a small TV here, and then obviously they have an ensuite here with a shower tub combo, a sink, and a toilet. So that's the little suite where Lorelai actually sends her parents for the test run of the inn when Emily and Richard are in a fight. So this is where I imagine they stayed. But yeah, over here we have the front porch where I just ended up placing some rocking chairs. I thought that was iconic and just so cute for a porch like this. There's a small table set up here and then just a tiny little bench. And then this is the layout of the Dragonfly. In my mind, you know, it's probably not 100% accurate, but I think we got pretty close. So over here we have the hallway. It's very brown. There's a lot of patterns going on, definitely some mismatched colors and stuff. And then on the side here is Lorelai's check-in office. I think that this came pretty close. I think it's pretty accurate. We have the computer here, a small, I don't know, guest book or sign-in book or whatever, some magazines, a waiting area, mismatched patterns everywhere. And behind the check-in desk is Lorelai's office, or, you know, the staff's office with filing cabinets, a desk, and their own private coffee bar where Suki clearly provides fresh treats every morning. On the other side of the hallway is the iconic living room, which again, I feel like turned out a little bit more spacious in my version of the Dragonfly, but I think it's pretty accurate. We have that pink couch, a bunch of little tables everywhere. We have these two chairs here with a table in the middle, the fireplace, a bunch of little stools everywhere, bookcases. I added in a games table here so Sims can actually sit down and play some games for a fun activity. And then there's a bar here as well that is not accurate, but it still looks cute. I think it's a nice thing to add here. Behind the living room, clearly we have the dining room. So I ended up placing some items for restaurant functionality in here. So we have the waiter station. Also, I think that the Dragonfly Inn just works as a restaurant, as in you can just go there to eat. You don't always have to stay there. You can just use the restaurant, like go to the restaurant, I think. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's how it works in my mind. We clearly have all these tables. We have some waiter stations back here. There is a fireplace in here. I could actually find a picture of the dining room where you could kind of see this angle where they had a fireplace here and also a small chess table in the back. So that's what I ended up putting as well. And then through these open doors here is the library. Just a bunch of bookcases here. These really fancy desks. I just thought that that was so fun and something nice to add for this build. And then there's an extra lounge here as well where you can just sit down and do some reading and just hang out by the fireplace. Through this door over here or through this little hallway over here, you enter into Suki's kitchen. This clearly is Suki's domain. I really like how it ended up looking with these range hoods everywhere and then those shelves and all the counter space, the cluttered up island here. I just thought that was so fun. The mixer was really nice. And then I tried to blend in this actual functional chef station to the best of my abilities. I think that turned out pretty good. Back here, we have a small pantry where I just ended up placing some decorative storage and some wine bottles. There are sinks back here, a dishwasher, we have a coffee maker, Suki's desk where she sits down and writes down recipes and whatnot. There's some lockers over here. And then of course the back door out to the side porch. I'm really excited about how that kitchen came out. I think it was so fun. And then over here is a small door leading you into the bathroom. So this is just a really simple little downstairs half bath for guests and staff to use. Then upstairs, this is what the floor plan looks like. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bedrooms here, and then 1 bedroom clearly downstairs. On the landing, we have this lounge / library moment, and then there's a small foosball table here. I thought that was a fun activity to add in this spacious area. We have some built-in wardrobes here as well, and then on the side here is the laundry. So I just did a bunch of machines and then all this laundry and storage and whatnot. This is one of the bedrooms that I furnished on camera for the speed build. So this little bedroom has its own entrance here, and then they have a small bathroom over here that's very simple, and then this very cozy, dark, kind of warm toned bedroom. I really like this room. I think this one turned out very cozy. Definitely on theme for the Dragonfly, I want to say. They have a small TV here, a mirror, and then we have those yellow robes, of course, and they have a small desk as well. All the way over here is that family suite. So that's essentially this entire area. There's a parents area here with a double bed, and then they also have a toddler and or infant bed. I'm not exactly sure if toddlers can also sleep in here, but that would be perfect. They also have their robes here and some luggage. And through this archway here, you basically enter into the other section of the room. So this is where kids can sleep, or teens, or whoever's there. There is a small living room space here with a TV, and then just a bunch of board games and stuff. There's also an ensuite, of course. This one's actually very spacious. So they just have a walk-in shower over here and then a separate tub. I actually realized that I forgot to place a toilet in this bathroom. Hang on, let me fix that. There we go, that's much better. They now also have a toilet in their bathroom. And then they have a sink here, and they have a changing table, which I thought was nice for a family room. And then we have 3 more bedrooms back here, which I did not record. They're a little bit smaller, I want to say, but not less cozy. I really like this one with the mismatched colors. A small TV here as well, just a small dresser, and also a bathroom. Both these bathrooms are basically the same, just mirrored. So these are the en-suites to the bedrooms over here. For the bedroom next door, I decided to not do a double bed, but do 2 single beds instead for just like a nice change of pace. I really like the colors in here as well. And then that little chair in the corner. They have this dresser, which I think is really cool and vintage looking. And then they have a really small living room kind of lounge set up here with a TV and a couch. And then the room next to that just has a double bed again. This one's more, I guess, blue toned. They have a small bookcase in here, also a love seat, some luggage here, also those robes again, of course. And then they have an ensuite over here, which is a little bit smaller, but still has everything that your Sims would need. That is basically gonna do it for the Dragonfly Inn. So the Dragonfly Inn is now up on the gallery if you wanted to get it. It says it's not using any packs, but that's obviously a lie. There we go. Here we see all the packs. It's not pack restricted at all. I used a bunch of them, basically all of them, you know. It's on the gallery as a residential, but you could use it as a restaurant or, you know, a residential rental. You could basically do with it whatever you want in that regard, but for community lots, it's functional as a restaurant. And I built it on a 40 by 40 in the world of Brindleton Bay, so if you want to place it in your game, then that's where it goes. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed this one. You can obviously go ahead and download this build off the gallery like I just showed you. My username on the gallery is Simmary Sims. You can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok if you'd like. My username on there is Simmary Sims as well. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, feel free to do so. And if you'd like to get notified of every single time I upload a video, just click that little bell icon and you should be fine. I also live stream over on Twitch a few times a week, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and give me a follow over on twitch.tv/Simmary Sims. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!